Welcome back to Sitting with Spirit, my loves. This is the section of the podcast that I literally sit with Spirit and our angels and get the messages that will help the listeners and the hummingbird community. Take whatever resonates with you and leave the rest. As I always say each week, resonance is one of our most important spiritual tools in our toolbox to know what is for us and what is not. The first thing I want to talk about is about that sacred geometry that we make and the patterns of our life that we make sacred geometry with when we're walking in our power and our heart and our alignment. And this was an image that flashed into my mind really briefly during the interview, and I feel called to just elaborate a little bit more on it here because it's such a beautiful idea. And so this is basically our unique dance, our unique pattern, our unique art that our energy makes when we are walking in alignment. And our angels and guides can see it as similarly to the sacred geometry that planets make when they orbit around. It's the sacred geometry that we make when we walk in our power. And the pattern that we create is the exact pattern that then attracts what we're calling in, what we're manifesting, more abundance, love, and power in turn. And so the idea that our actions actually do have a greater pattern to them and that they are creating sacred geometry, and that sacred geometry is in alignment with our authentic frequency. And what I always say is that the reason we came to Earth was to explore this slice of consciousness in the most powerful, authentic way. And authenticity is the way we do explore this slice of consciousness. We're not trying to be anybody else. We're not trying to people please or make other people more comfortable. And with Pluto and Aquarius, that's one of the big lessons right now is around authenticity. Aquarius rules authenticity, marching to the beat of your own drum, doing things your own way. That is an essential element to us staying in the pattern of power and art and beauty and creation of that sacred geometry. It's like another way to say it is it's a way that we sing our song to the universe, and then we attract things that are in tune and in the same key that we're calling in. So to me, that visual was really helpful and really beautiful because when we think about things as big as energy, it can get a little bit too obtuse and difficult to cerebralize. So I love the idea of thinking about our unique brand of sacred geometry and all of the colors and our aura colors weaving into that, just making this beautiful piece of art that is our life and is our energetic output and is our hopes and dreams and is everything that we want to put into the world. And in a way, that's what our soul leaves behind, is this energetic output and the love that we loved, the dreams that we followed, the passion, the heart. That is what we leave behind. And that is our dance and that is our sacred geometry. So when I started to tune into our angels and guides and what they wanted us to know, I got this feeling of a saturation of energy, a lot of noise, a lot of confusion, and not knowing what to trust or believe. And it's interesting because this idea of truth keeps coming up. And it's like truth on the micro, of course, but also truth on the macro, and sort of not knowing what's real, not knowing what's not, and media literacy and AI and just all of these things. And it's like more imperative than ever for us to root into our truth and root into sacred space of what is true for us, or else we are going to be taken on a wild, wild ride. And I kind of felt this like heaviness over the collective. It almost felt like this like shroud of confusion and heaviness and maybe even some like grief or heavier emotions. And I just kept getting called to this image of a crossroads, but one of the paths, like, so when I see this image, the image of a crossroads, it's like an X, and one of the lines of the X was a torch. And so I got this image here of like this truth, our light, our fire, like is a torch that will light one of the ways of the crossroads. So it's like there's one direction that's like maybe the harder path, maybe the path less traveled by, maybe the one that requires such brutal honesty with ourselves. Maybe it's one that requires us to heal a witch wound and shine our light more visibly. It's the one that is the harder choice, but the brighter choice is that torch. And then there's a path that is the old paradigm. It's the path that is shrouded and question marks and where the shadows are winning. And basically, going back to that message of truth of your heart, this torch can't light the whole way. We aren't going to know exactly what's going to happen, but it can light the next step and then the next step and then the next step. And that is what we're being called to do right now, is to hold this torch of fire, passion, light, truth, courage, strength, and take one step in the direction of our truth and another and another and another. And it's a very important crossroads moment. And it feels like it's not just for the individual, but it's for the collective as well. And so with this, I was seeing the symbol of home and family. And when I see that symbol, it can be things within the family. It can be, family dynamics, family relationships coming up, but it can also be a house change, a move, a renovation, a space change. And so I saw those coming up as themes right now to pay attention to, or where there might be some things coming up, and that this might be part of where the torch is leading us. But quite honestly, when I feel into the energy, it feels so layered, and it feels like this moment where it's like everything coming up at once. And so the feeling that I get is like, just take your torch, see the crossroad, choose the path that doesn't extinguish the flames, but fosters them, because the other path feels like it's purposely keeping our head in the sand and co-creating with old patterns. And it's almost like we're in this place now, after everything we've gone through since 2020, where even if we wanted to choose that path, I don't think we could anymore. It's like you can't go back to sleep once you've woken up. And that's the sense that I get, is that it's just this moment to really be in your truth. And there is literally a hummingbird flying outside of my window right now as we are recording this. So that's such a synchronicity for the hummingbird community. And the message I get for hummingbird when it comes up in readings as an animal guide is basically not to stay stuck and trapped in one way of being, but to follow your joy, to go from beautiful flower to beautiful flower to beautiful flower without getting bogged down and heavy and over labeled and feeling like you can only show up one way. And that's why I love the synchronicity of this being a hummingbird community, because every single week we flip to new topic, to new topic, to new idea, to interesting thing, to beautiful flower. And I just find that really beautiful. There is one more message here with home and family coming up. The other message here with home and family is that it's not just biological family, but chosen family and soul family, and that this is part of the torch. Is that in this moment when there's a lot of change, a lot of shadow, a lot of confusion, and a lot of layers, community and family is more important than ever to remind you who you are, to hold you up, to band together. And there's this strength in numbers of we're not meant to go through this path alone, and community is more important than ever. Like not being just connected to screens, but being connected to local community as well as family, friends, and just the people that we love. And so in that vein, I actually had a grandfather energy coming through, and he was like so funny to me. He just had this sense of humor and this loud laugh and this just kind of jolly demeanor that was so nice to connect with. And he was showing me that like his favorite time in the world was family barbecues. And it seemed like his house was the house where they would barbecue and where everyone would get together. And I just got this feeling from him of like, that was his best times, when the family was together, when everyone was enjoying, when people were laughing, when they were just enjoying those moments. And it's interesting too, because he showed me that he was the one to work the grill, and I feel like he had a really specific way of doing that. Interestingly, and I feel like he just shared this evidence so that somebody out there could know who it was for. He showed me that he was a plumber and that he was really good at tinkering with things and fixing pipes and things like that. And then I also saw that so this is his message. So he was showing me that when he was alone, his thoughts could get really heavy, and that we're not meant to go through things alone, that we are meant to lean on our friends, our family, and our community. And that there were times where he would struggle with undiagnosed mental health things. And it's so interesting because it's often the most vivacious, bright lighted people who you don't know what they're going through behind the scenes. And this felt like the case for him, that it feels like they had kids and family and grandkids and everything on the surface was good, but that when he was on his own, there was some heaviness and some dark thoughts and things like that. And so he was purposely bringing my attention to family gatherings as being really important for this time we're in energetically. It's like we can so focus on working on ourselves and being our best version of self. And we can think that, going back to that dance of joy and truth and authenticity, that only includes ourselves. But actually, it also includes the people we show up for and the people that we love and our relationships. And we can heal just as much through that as any work that we do on our own. And so I just keep coming back to this message of home and family and gatherings and planning things, plan group events, because chances are you're not alone with what you're going through. Chances are that people are here to support you and love you, and that the inner villain voice has so much less power when you are in a group of people that are parroting your heart, not your inner villain voice. And so utilize that, because we can, especially in the States, become such an individualistic society. We can go so long, we can go weeks by ourselves if we wanted to. And so that's the message, that in this time, community is more important than ever. Claire, do you want to add anything?
Oh, this was a beautiful message I, again, needed to hear, and I'm so grateful for it. I particularly liked what you were saying about us creating the unique music that is our soul, our spark, our contribution to this world. I feel like music is such a spiritual thing. Anyway, like I always say, I feel like music exists without us and we sort of tap into it. Like it's another layer of existence. And so I just love thinking of ourselves also as this like creative musical instrument, and what a gift we each are when we can tap into our unique vibration and allow that to be here on this plane of existence. And I know, right now I'm feeling the struggle of it. I'm feeling that shroud like you talked about, where it feels kind of heavy. But I think when we can focus in on even the image of the hummingbird, of just following our joy and going from flower to flower, being our most unique vibration, I'm going to take that with me this week.
I love that so much. And I just got full body chills when you said music exists without us. And what just popped into my head is that music is spirit and musicians are the mediums for them. Because I feel like when musicians work, like the music comes to them and almost like a download, or they hear it already, or they know it. It's like they're psychically picking up on the frequency, and music is just frequency and we're just frequency. And so they're bringing that frequency into physical form. And it's so cool because it reminds me, and we're the queens of tangents, so I'm going to try my best, but it reminds me of those like TikTok videos where they put those little machines on mushrooms and stuff and they play music. It's like everything has music, everything has a sound. And so the fact that it exists outside of our perception, but that we can tap into it and bring it forth as a medium, is like so beautiful. And the last thing I want to say, and I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast before, is that I got this message about how our higher self has a unique frequency and a song and a note. And when we lower ourselves, when we dim our light, when we give our power away, it makes us go into a different key of being, which then is out of harmony with our unique manifestations and what we're calling in and our soulmate connection and all of those things that exist on our authentic frequency. And when we remember who we are, we play our music to the universe in a way that brings things that harmonize with us. And the message I get is that we are purposely tested by other frequencies and other songs and other notes to see, will you lower yourself to this or will you stay in your unique frequency? And for a time, maybe we will lower ourselves and play a different song and kind of forget our music. But when we remember our music, our authenticity, and our song, that is where the universe can harmonize with us. And that is where we really sing our song of creation that is unique to us.
Wow, that was profound. And I resonate with that so deeply. And I feel like I'm just coming out of an experience where I was lowering my frequency. And it's like a visceral feeling where you feel out of discord with yourself. And I think tapping into that and recognizing it is just, I think I'm in that moment where I'm seeing that really clearly and feeling the call to get back into my highest frequency.
I love that. And the beautiful thing is that we don't have to do anything to get into our most authentic frequency other than remember who we are. It's like everything is in us, and like just literally following our joy, standing in our power, remembering who we are, everything will come back into that frequency.
Thank you. I needed that reminder. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so much love to you, Claire. So much love to the hummingbirds. I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful week. Thank you so much for being here. And please make sure to continue to share the podcast, to spread the word about Magic Hour so we can continue to grow. Thank you, thank you, thank you.